well known to be a time server. Nevertheless they were mistaken, for the jester was in earnest this time. Immediately after that an old white-headed warrior, bent nearly double with infirmity and years, came forward and acted as Wapoota had done. Then, turning to the people, he addressed them in a weak, trembling voice. There was a great silence, for this was the patriarch of the tribe, had been a lion-like man in his youth, and was greatly respected. "I join the Christians," he said slowly. "Have I not lived and fought for long, very long?" "Yes, yes," from many voices. "And what good has come of it?" demanded the patriarch. "Have not the men of the mountain fought with the men of the swamp since the mountain and the swamp came from the hand of the Great Father?" A pause, and again, "Yes, yes," from many voices. "And what good has come of it? Here is the mountain, yonder is the swamp, as they were from the beginning. And what the better are we that the swamp has been flooded, and the mountain drenched with the blood of our fathers? Hatred has been tried from the beginning of time, and has failed. Let us now, my children, try love, as the Great Father counsels us to do." A murmur of decided applause followed the old man's speech, and Ongoloo, seizing him by both shoulders, gazed earnestly into his withered face. Had they been Frenchmen, these two would no doubt have kissed each other's cheeks. If Englishmen, they might have shaken hands warmly. Being Polynesian savages, they rubbed noses. Under the influence of this affectionate act, a number of the warriors ran off, fetched their gods, and threw them on the temple floor. Then Ongoloo, seizing a brand from the fire, thrust it into the loose cocoanut fibre, and set the pile in a blaze. Quickly the flames leaped into the temple thatch, and set the whole structure on fire. As the fire roared and leaped, Waroonga, with Tomeo and Buttchee, started a hymn. It chanced to be one which Zeppa had already taught the people, who at once took it up, and sent forth such a shout of praise as had never before echoed among the palm groves of that island. It confirmed the waverers, and thus, under the influence of sympathy, the whole tribe came that day to be of one mind. The sweet strains, rolling over the plains and uplands, reached the cliffs at last, and struck faintly on the ears of a small group assembled in a mountain cave. The group consisted of Zeppa and his son Ebony and the pirate. "It sounds marvelously like a hymn," said Orlando, listening. "Ah, dear boy, it is one I taught the natives when I stayed with them," said Zeppa, "but it never reached so far as this before." Poor Zeppa was in his right mind again, but oh, how weak and wan and thin the raging fever had left him. Rosco, who was also reduced to a mere shadow of his former self, listened to the faint sound with a troubled expression, for it carried him back to the days of innocence, when he sang it at his mother's knee. "Dat's oncommon strange," said Ebony. "Nebber heard de sound come so far before. Hope de scoundrels no got hold of grog." "Shame on you, Ebony, to suspect such a thing," said Orlando. "You would be better employed getting things ready for tomorrow's journey than casting imputations on our hospitable friends." "Dar's nothin' to get ready, massa," returned the negro. "Eberything's prepared to start arter breakfast." "That's well, and I am sure the change to the seashore will do you good, father, as well as Rosco. You've both been too long here. The cave is not as dry as one could wish, and then you'll be cheered by the sound of children playing round you." "Yes, it will be pleasant to have Lippy running out and in again," said Zeppa. They did not converse much, for the strength of both Zeppa and Rosco had been so reduced that they could not even sit up long without exhaustion. But Orlando kept up their spirits by prattling away on every subject that came into his mind, and especially of the island of Ratinga. While they were thus engaged they heard the sound of rapidly approaching footsteps, and next moment Tomeo and Buttchee bounded over the bushes, glaring and panting from the rate at which they had raced up the hill to tell the wonderful news. "Everyting burnt?" exclaimed Ebony, whose eyes and teeth showed so much white that his face seemed absolutely to sparkle. "Everything, idols and temple," repeated the two chiefs, in the Ratinga tongue, and in the same breath. "And nebber gwine to fight no more?" asked Ebony, with a grin that might be more correctly described as a split from ear to ear. "Never more," replied the chiefs. Next morning the two invalids were tenderly conveyed on litters down the mountain side and over the plain, and before the afternoon had passed away they found a pleasant temporary resting place in the now Christian village. End of chapter 13.